Mikhaila Peterson has posted videos and discussions about drugs, porn, weird diets, abortion, LGBTQ issues, lots of controversial topics. But there's only one topic that's starting to frighten her. Can you guess what it is? If you guessed Mormonism, congratulations. You're dumb enough to get your own news program on CNN. After seeing endless comments from misunderstanders of the religion of peace supporting the attempted assassination of Salman Rushdie, Mikhaila tweeted, "TikTok after the attempted murder of Salman Rushdie. Insane. This is why Islam is the only topic I'm actually worried about discussing." That's the point of Islamic blasphemy laws, isn't it? If you brutally murder enough people for criticizing the most obvious false prophet in history, the people you haven't brutally murdered will be a bit reluctant to criticize the most obvious false prophet in history. And that's precisely why we have to continue exposing Muhammad. Keeping quiet about Islam after jihadis kill people for making fun of Islam encourages jihadis. It teaches them that violence is the way to get what they want. But there's an even deeper reason we can't keep quiet about Muhammad and the Quran. These blasphemy laws are grounded in hypocrisy, and we can't allow hypocrites to control us. Let me show you what I mean. In an effort to justify the attack on Salman Rushdie, various misunderstanders of Islam were posting tweets like this. "Salman Rushdie stabbed. When you do blasphemy against the Holy Prophet, you will always face this threat, even after decades. This is one sensitive nerve of Muslims you should never poke. Muslims never insult the religious figures of other religions, especially the prophets." Muslims never insult the religious figures of other religions? Muslims don't insult the Apostle Paul? Muslims don't insult the Trinity? This is interesting because I can't spend 8 seconds online without having my religion insulted by Muslims. And yet, over and over again, I see Muslims, even very popular Muslims, insisting that it's wrong to criticize Muhammad because Muslims never, ever criticize other people's religious figures. But maybe it's only the misunderstanders of Islam who insult other people's religions. We shouldn't blame the entire religion for what misunderstanders of the religion do, should we? Here's an idea. Let's go back to the first generation of Muslims and see how respectful they were when they talked about other people's religious figures. Obviously, since it's wicked and immoral to insult other people's religious beliefs, the Prophet Muhammad must have been extremely respectful in his interactions with the pagans of Mecca, right? The History of At-Tabari, Volume 6, page 93. The messenger of God, Muhammad, proclaimed God's message openly and declared Islam publicly to his fellow tribesmen. When he did so, they did not withdraw from him or reject him in any way, as far as I have heard, until he spoke of their gods and denounced them. Notice that the pagans of Mecca didn't have any problem with Muhammad preaching Islam until he started denouncing their gods. A little later, in Volume 6, page 101, the polytheists of Mecca complain about Muhammad's religious intolerance. They say, "We have never seen the like of what we have endured from this man. He has derided our traditional values, abused our forefathers, reviled our religion, caused division among us, and insulted our gods. We have endured a great deal from him." Muhammad reviled their religion and insulted their gods. He reviled their religion and insulted their gods. But what do our Muslim friends assure us that Muslims never do? Muslims never insult the religious figures of other religions. We can already make an argument out of this. If Muslims never insult the religious figures of other religions, and Muhammad definitely insulted the religious figures of other religions, what can we conclude? That Muhammad wasn't a Muslim. Great job, Zayd. Since Muhammad is the pattern of conduct in Islam, it should come as no surprise that his companions followed his example by insulting the religious figures of the polytheists. In the History of At-Tabari, Volume 8, page 76, one of the polytheists tells Muhammad that if he loses the fight against his own tribe, his followers will abandon him. Abu Bakr, the first of the rightly guided caliphs, replies to the polytheist, in the presence of Muhammad, go suck the clitoris of Allat. So, Abu Bakr, Muhammad's closest companion, tells a man to go perform oral sex on Allat, his goddess. Does this mean that, let's say, Hindus can tell Muslims to go perform oral sex on Allah and Muhammad? No, because hypocrisy. The Muslims eventually defeated the pagans of Mecca, and that's when Muhammad got to demonstrate how to show respect towards the beliefs of others. There were 360 idols at the Kaaba. Remember, Muslims never insult the religious figures of other groups. Sahih al-Bukhari, 2478. The Prophet entered Mecca, and at that time there were 360 idols around the Kaaba. He started stabbing the idols with a stick he had in his hand and reciting, "Truth, Islam, has come, and falsehood, disbelief, has vanished." Muhammad went around stabbing their idols. He desecrated them. And keep in mind, we're not even going through the passages in the Quran and the Hadith where Allah and Muhammad command their followers to slaughter people for their religious beliefs. We're just responding to the idea that it's wrong and immoral to insult other people's beliefs. If it's wrong and immoral to insult other people's religious figures, then was it wrong and immoral for Muhammad and his companions and 14 centuries of followers to insult other people's religious figures? And this brings us to the real message of Islamic blasphemy laws. The real message isn't, hey, it's wrong to insult other people's religions. The real message is, it's okay for us to insult your religion, but you're going to shut up about our religion or else. That's the message. Do you accept it? Do you accept hypocrisy enforced by threats and intimidation and violence? If so, I'm sure the United Nations would love to hire you to work on their next International Day to Combat Islamophobia. But if you don't accept hypocrisy enforced by threats and intimidation and violence, we've got some work to do. Because the only peaceful way to convince jihadis to stop killing people for making fun of their fake prophet is to make fun of him even more. But maybe you still think that the attack on Salman Rushdie, like the other more than 40,000 Islamic terrorist attacks since 9/11, was just a random instance of violence by a crazy person, and that Islam doesn't have a problem here. After all, don't all religions have their extremists? If that's what you're thinking, be sure to check out What Do You Mean's video, where he shows why we don't see Christians celebrating violence carried out in the name of Jesus.